I mean, we have to do this one, right? We have to. Kanye West is a hip hop producer and rapper. He hails from Chicago, America. He is in a large part responsible for hip hop being such a popular genre. He's been in the industry for over 20 years. He's had numerous number one hits, numerous number one albums, and delivered some of the best albums and songs ever made. But also, conversely, lately, he's been doing things like this.
I'm not racist, but Ye is.
It's very niche, and maybe you even think it's cool if you're of a certain persuasion. But with his increasingly insulting and verbally violent tirades against certain people in society, the question is he in the wrong? I'm going to talk about that now.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
So Kanye West, over the past few years, has been a staple for controversy. And this has really happened as his music has diminished in quality. Now, whether or not the two things are intrinsically linked is a completely separate issue, which we will be touching on very, very, very lightly. But at the same time, I think it's more important to talk about the controversies that he seems to be causing. Now, as everything, I love to have a balanced, nuanced conversation. And I think it's very important that this is handled with a nuanced and a sense of neutrality involved. It doesn't really matter about my personal opinions at this stage. Let's just speak on facts. Now, I think it's very hard for anyone really to justify his behavior. But however, if we can approach this from a more positive and neutral standpoint, I think we can maybe come to some sort of balanced argument. So, on the positives, I think what this man's been doing over the past few years has been, if, shall we say, artistic? Because there is an argument to say that what he's doing is actually part of an art piece or installation of sorts. Or maybe he's just trying to make a point by doing the exact opposite of what people expect him to do or what any human being is expected to do. I think even inadvertently, it's raising awareness of mental health. It is publicly known that Kanye West has struggled with mental health issues over the past, well, potentially all of his life. But I think this has now become quite a prevalent issue in society based on the fact that he's attacking certain groups of individuals, which is quite frankly unacceptable. There is an argument, I guess, a very small argument to say maybe he's doing this on purpose to raise awareness. It's a very, very weak argument. In turn, it's also, I guess, raising awareness of racism, anti Semitism, gender roles in society, and maybe the nature of the way that the media and the way that social media promotes extreme behaviors. If you're talking about X, which Elon Musk owns, or if you're talking about Instagram, which is owned by Mark Zuckerberg, these platforms are usually used to push and peddle ideas that are quite extreme. Maybe he's using these platforms as a way to raise some sort of awareness of their evil. I don't know. I mean, it seems very extreme to do that, but maybe. I think going back to the idea of this all being some sort of big art installation within society is quite interesting. He is an artist, after all. He's not just a music artist. He has been very, very interested and active in the art world. If you look at a lot of his album covers, they are very much artistic and amongst some of the best and most memorable album covers of all time. And that's because the man has a really keen interest in art. And there is still this idea that this is just a villain origin story that is going to turn out with him being the hero in the end. Maybe he's going to flip the script. Maybe everything he's doing, there's going to be a big reveal and he's going to be like, well, actually, I pranked you and this all has a bigger meaning. I'm really struggling with this one. And if we now talk about the negatives, because it's a lot easier, I think first and foremost, it's very divisive or divisive, depending on where you're based. Really, if you think about everything he's doing, makes very little sense. It really has no basis of anything. Additionally, it's feeding into a subculture that doesn't need to be fed into any more than it already is. He seems to be almost playing on the themes of racism and working it against itself in a really weird kind of way. I think the most important thing here is where's all the music gone? I loved Kanye West when he first came about. He was like the savior of hip hop music. Hip hop music at the time was going through a kind of, uh, I would say, not evolution, where music was becoming more popularized, it was becoming very poppy. And Kanye West came in and he was known as the savior of hip hop music. He was really working with old soul samples. He was bringing hip hop music back to its original roots. He really was seen as the backpacking hip hop artist who saved the genre. But the question is, where's the music gone? Because I can't remember the last good Kanye West track. And I think if you are a Kanye West fan and you're thinking of his best songs, you are harping back to his older stuff rather than his newer stuff. In fact, I can't even tell you a song of his newer albums or his newer releases that are anywhere near the quality of the previous releases. Now, of course, music is subjective. So maybe you're watching this and you think there are some songs that he's released recently that do touch the quality of the previous ones. But I think if you were to ask a number of people on the street their favorite Kanye West track, they would most likely say something from maybe beyond 10 years ago. And this is where we converge back to what we were talking about initially, which is as he's become more and more extreme with his opinions and with his appearances in public that seem overly extreme with his voiced opinions that are quite frankly just straight up racist or anti-Semitic, it seems like the quality of the music has diminished. And I think the big question here, the ultimate question that we are looking for answers on is that because he doesn't believe in his powers as a music artist anymore? Does he feel like he has to be more divisive or divisive in society to make up for the lack of quality in the music? Does he feel like his powers have diminished as an artist? This current day music and the messages in the current day music seem very inconsistent with his original messages he had in his music before. Of course, when he first came out, he was talking about societal differences, wealth, religion, social acceptance, race, even gender roles. He was asking people to be more aware of these things through his music. And that's what made him such a unique music artist, because most of his most popular songs have a message in them. Sometimes these messages were tongue in cheek, like Gold Digger, but actually, if you listen to the lyrics, they're very deep. And as he released those songs and those albums and those messages, they were layered with the music, which made it easier to digest some of his more extreme ideas. And his ideas then were not anywhere as divisive or extreme as they are now, but they were definitely counterculture at the time. And with the possible imminent release of his new album, I have to ask the question, where has the music gone? Because the last few albums have been thoroughly disappointing. But what do you think? Do you think over time he's lost confidence in his ability as a producer and a hip hop artist? And that has in turn made him feel like he has to be more present in the media with outrageous and outlandish comments? Or do you just think that all of this is one big art piece and he's going to turn around and say this is all a part of a social experiment and he doesn't mean anything that he said? Or actually, do you just think he's a bit of an idiot right now and he's doing and saying things that are causing controversy just to bring attention to himself? Now, of course, we have to preface all of this by saying he does suffer from mental health issues. And of course, that is a big topic of discussion. And I don't think it should be overlooked. So I think it's very important for this conversation to remain nuanced and subtle, and for us to take into consideration his mental health struggles, as well as other people that you may know and their mental health struggles. So if you are going to comment, do be very mindful of that fact. I would love to hear your guys' opinions on the subject matter. As I said, I've been a fan of Kanye West for over 20 years. However, I must say the past 5 to 7 years, I would say, have been a hell of a struggle. And I'm sure it's been a very big struggle for those people around him that were close to him that they probably don't talk to him anymore. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let's have a conversation there. And until we speak again, big love.